if you want to like kind of position yourself, like take it with you, you can do that.
We're live. Hi everybody. Jack Baumann.
Hey.
We're learning.
Coffee mug out of the way here.
We're learning microphone things.
If at some point I make eye contact with you and like make a motion like that, if I'm trying
Bring
to
it closer.
get back onto the mic.
Okay. But this is about right.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool.
Right there.
Cool.
I like your shirt.
Thank you. I'm wearing it
St.
loud
Louis
and
Public
proud.
Radio. Yeah.
Okay, can I get a quick mic check from you?
Hello, Sam Moth. How are you? I haven't seen you in forever.
I know, too long.
I know. It's been a long time. I moved.
Oh yes.
I moved, which is painful. Moving is painful.
Mm-hmm.
Moving is horrible. It is just really awful.
It's a pain in the ass. Yeah.
It's a huge pain, but it's good. You get rid of stuff,
Right.
but then you feel guilty because you're like, oh,
Well, that's why
I filled up my own landfill. Maybe
that was half the reason I bought a house, is so I could have a place to put all my stuff that I collect when I travel. Because the worst is when you travel.
You collect.
Well, I travel the world, and you go to like Oktoberfest, you get a Steiner, you go to Dublin, or I have the Lederhosen, and as a college student, where do you put that stuff in an apartment? You have nowhere to put it.
Well, you'll have to open a museum one day.
Oh, I will. I shall.
That would be what you should.
I
do.
have my own museum. It's called my house. So that's the seriously. That was half the
do you
reason I
have
bought
like
the house.
hours, like Saturdays? Tickets $10.
Oh yeah.
Come on through.
Not quite yet, but I do have displays. I have my photos and I have like my displays. Like I have all my currencies that I've all the countries laid out, and then all my little artifacts. Like my favorite is definitely the Maas, the Steiner from Oktoberfest. It's
Really?
Augustiner, and I took it. You're not really supposed to take them from the beer halls, but I had to take one.
I'm telling them. I'm calling them.
You're gonna call the.
Like, I know where you're missing.
The Wiener Schnitzel authorities.
I know who has it. Yeah, right. They're over there going, we still haven't found it.
Oh, there's something. Those
Where
Germans,
did it go? Damn Jack Baumann.
I think they have a couple extra laying around, I would suspect.
Oh, you took more than one. I see. I see the kind of person we're dealing with today.
Just took the one. Just took the one. But I've only been once. Maybe I'll have to take another when I go again.
This is good. I think we're good.
Cool.
I gave up the spidery thing because it was just, it was too much for me.
It was on its last legs.
It was not doing well. I had this like little spidery thing that you could, would hold
it was
the
It was
phone.
a mount, like a tripod.
Yes, and you could make the legs do.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh,
it didn't work.
It worked great for a while, and then I just was having so many issues. I'm like, this isn't good.
Right.
Yeah.
They do have cheap stands that you can get for that kind of stuff. I'm actually going to get one myself for Christmas. I'm going to buy myself a Christmas present. Cause...
That is nice of you to buy. I buy myself Christmas presents all year round.
Really?
Look, this is for Christmas. My daughter was cracking up because this is the time of year where she's like, I'm like, okay, that'll have to be your Christmas present. That'll be part of your Christmas
Right.
present.
And
She's
it's February. Yeah.
I'm like, then
I
get them
know.
all at once. And one
Parents
day.
do the same. That's typical.
It's just what we do. All right, I am ready when you are. Oh, so did we tell them time things?
Oh no.
So we'll have 3 sections, 9-ish, 10-ish minutes. Don't worry if we go over, but I'll wrap it up, for each section. And then there you go. We got 3 of them.
Awesome.
The last one's question time, which are just you'll like.
You ask me, or I ask you?
I ask you questions.
Okay.
I don't know. We should maybe
Turn it around.
Mix it up sometime.
Like, what is that? Step Brothers. How much do you make before taxes? Go.
What's Step Brothers?
Really? She's joking. This is Comedy Hour.
Step Brothers.
The who? What?
It's one of Will Ferrell's most popular movies.
Oh.
I know, but you gotta watch it. It's one of those classic Americana.
I love Will Ferrell, but
They're 40-year-old, basically kids. They live in their parents' house. And they're
okay.
Their parents get married, and they're both like 40-year-old kind of.
But is it like potty humor?
No,
Oh.
not at all.
Okay.
Like American Pie style, not at all.
Yeah, because that kind
not
of
at all.
It's like
Nope.
when something about Mary came out, everybody's like, "Oh, you'll love it,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "No,
Not
don't
at
like
all.
it."
In fact, I actually don't think they cuss even other than.
Okay, I'll give it a go.
No,
then.
it's definitely I would say it's probably PG-13 actually. There are a couple
Gotcha.
like adult references, but no, it's not potty humor.
But I shouldn't. I mean, I watch Rick and Morty. I think it's hilarious.
That makes you very cool.
Do you like Rick and Morty?
I don't even think I'm cool enough to like it. All my friends that are cool.
My friend Tyler just got the
watch it,
Mr. Poopy Pants. What's he called? He just got him as a. I probably shouldn't admit, but I watch it.
I don't don't know. It sounds like you really know a lot. I'm impressed.
Well, yeah, I'm on the board of directors of Rick and Morty. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Just so you know, if you say anything that you like, wish you wouldn't have said or something, I can edit stuff out. I usually don't go edit a whole lot, but
Right, something horrible.
yeah, or like if you just
Although you are live on
like,
Facebook. But seriously,
I
I mean,
forget a name.
if you start just talking, you're like, wait, I'm rambling. I don't think I'm going anywhere. You know, like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can just
yeah.
go, whoa, and we can, I do it all the time.
I do it all the time too.
So
But
it's just,
you just make that ramble sound smart. You tie it into something.
smart rambling is good.
Mm-hmm.
We like smart rambling. That's really good for podcasts.
I'm a
actually,
pro at it.
that's what they are.
That's how I will introduce you. All right, I'm ready.
Here we go. I will give you the thumbs up when it's time. Here we go.
Hi, this is Mich Hancock, and you are listening to Mishmash, a place where I get to talk to the weird, wacky, wonderful people of this world, people I adore and want to know more about. Today, my guest is Jack Baumann. He is the founder and CEO of Guidester, which is changing the face of modern travel planning by providing personalized travel for any destination in the world. Hello, Jack.
Hi, Mish.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So this is going to be so much fun because you've done a lot of traveling. So you have all kinds of goodies to tell us and talk about. But start with Guidester. This
Okay.
is really interesting. There's nothing like it that I know of, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
You're it on this. So tell people what it is.
In a nutshell, I've created a company that focuses on the experience you have when you arrive. So you could maybe say we're like a highly custom guide,
Okay.
but there's a lot more that goes into it. So really, anybody that's traveled, especially overseas, understands the amount of work that goes into not just planning a trip. So travel agents, for example, which I get all the time. Are you a travel agent? I can book and plan it like a travel agent. But what makes me completely unique is flights, hotels, all that's booked, right?
Right.
Then what do you do?
Right.
Travel agents, travel companies, tour companies, unless you have a tour guide, if you're going to Italy and you Venice, Florence, Rome, and then you book your flights and hotels, whether you do it on your own or use a travel agent, then the hard work begins. What to see and do, how to get around, cultural information, when things open, are there festivals, are there concerts, open air markets, so on, so on, so on. And what ends up happening is people typically travel unprepared. So what happens is they either don't have the time to do the research or they don't really know where to get the information. Because now that everything's online, the name of the game is now filtering all that, spending 40, 50 plus hours filtering it all. And then once you have all the data, what do you do with it? Do you write it in a notebook? Do you put it in an Excel spreadsheet? And then again, TripAdvisor, is that credible? Is that blog that guy wrote 5 years ago credible? Is it up to date?
That's true.
So what makes it unique really is the focus on the experience you have on the ground. All the travel companies really in the world make their money on the booking and planning. I wanted to create a company that could allow that, could accommodate that, because people do need help with, hotel recommendations, which I completely understand. But that, to me, is the easy part. I mean, you definitely want a great hotel experience. You want a good flight. You want all these things to get you there. But once you're there, that's why you paid the money, is to get there and see these mom and pop places and the culture and all this good stuff.
So it's a way that you can make the most of your travel, really.
Absolutely. And save you the stress. So there's really two things here. People either don't have the time,
Right.
or they do have the time, and they just don't have the expertise. It's the same reason you go get your oil change. I knew how to change my oil when I was 12 years old. I grew up with a big family, but I still go get my oil changed. Why is that? Part of it's time, but part of it's the expertise. I want them to do a 5-point inspection and make sure my tires are rotated and all that good stuff. So having a professional give you the advice on what to see and do on the ground, and then what makes us really unique is it's customized to the experience you want, to the person. So you can go to the bookstore, get online, and buy Rick Steves' book of Italy, for example. But Rick Steves says the same thing to Mich as does Jack Baumann.
Right.
When I'm unmarried, no kids. So when I go to Italy, it's going to be a completely different trip than maybe a 45-year-old couple going to Italy, or a family going to Italy, right?
Right.
So
yeah.
So that's the biggest difference. I was living in Europe. I got my master's in Europe. I traveled all over Europe, and I've since traveled a lot more. And really, that's what it comes down to: is what kind of person are you? What's your tolerance, comfort threshold? And then what do you want to see and do?
Right.
You go to London and you're a history buff, but maybe you've been to London twice. You've seen, the Tower of London. You've seen Parliament, Buckingham Palace.
Did the touristy stuff.
You did the touristy
Right.
stuff. you want to just do a pubs. I've actually worked with a client, and he's been to London a dozen times. He just said he just wanted historic pubs.
Oh, fun.
Because we actually map out all the points of interest in your guide. So you can show up in London and you can know how far you are from Salisbury Pub or Covent Gardens or Camden Town.
And how is the guide? Is it digital or is it like a book, or what does the guide look like?
Right, so it's both.
Oh, cool.
Which I think are important. The younger generation obviously likes everything digital, but I'm technically a millennial, but I still like the print for a couple reasons. If your phone dies, and the digital guide does work without internet, but if your phone dies, you'll have something else. And just to have something tangible, which also serves as a cool memory.
A souvenir.
It's a souvenir
exactly.
of your trip. So it does come in both, and the digital guide is really special. It's linked to everything, meaning Google Maps. It's linked to the restaurant websites. It's linked to the attractions. You can book tickets right there.
That's awesome, Jack.
So it's a convenient, it's stress-free, convenient, and it really does enhance your vacation.
Well, okay, so
in a nutshell.
So do you ever look at Atlas Obscura?
I've looked at it, but it's not a continuous thing. No.
I love that. See, I love Atlas Obscura because it's all the funky, weird stuff to go do at any town.
Right.
You know, so it's like I'm all for doing touristy things because there's some things I just want to go experience.
You have to do.
You know,
right.
I'm like, I want to go do that.
Right.
But I have to do the Atlas Obscura thing as well so that I can see the weird, funky stuff.
Right.
And then, so you must like do a ton of research on behalf of these people, especially if that's very specialized. Like, I want to go see historic pubs.
Right.
There's a lot of research involved.
Absolutely. And we even take it a step further a lot. I get plenty of clients that have food allergies. I had a client going to England and then another client going to Italy that were gluten-free. That is no easy task.
No
because Italy,
kidding.
gluten-free, it's changing. Believe it or not, there are more Italians than you'd think that are gluten intolerant. Because when your whole diet is bread-based,
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult to find restaurants that...
Well, and pasta and all of that.
Right. But there are more, especially in the major cities, there are more and more places that you can go buy food, and then restaurants that have gluten-free menus. So stuff like that, you know. It's the major stuff, and then the little stuff. And then probably what I'm most passionate about is the little unique nuggets of the places themselves. For example, you don't need me to tell you when you go to Rome to go to the Vatican. Everybody's
Right.
heard of the Vatican. But did you know that you can climb the dome of St. Peter's Basilica to get sweeping 360-degree views of Rome?
I did not know that.
Most people that go to the Vatican, I've talked to many that, no, I didn't even know it was there. There's not a big sign saying this way to the elevator.
So you get like secret insights.
Right. I wouldn't say that is a particular secret, but another one that I love to tell people, which kind of is a secret, which shouldn't be, is there's a side entrance to the Louvre in Paris called the Porte de Lyon. So there's the main, the glass pyramid
Yeah.
that you see pictures?
Yes.
If you go in pretty much any time from June to like September, it's going to be a 3-hour-long wait.
Well, and it's like I went really early, so that I could beat the crowds, and it was just tons of people all at once. And as soon as those doors opened, people were like running to get to where they wanted to go, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is not very comfortable."
No.
It was just sort of chaotic.
It's stressful.
feeling.
And you either, one of two things happens. You're stressed out, and it clouds the experience you're having, because who wants to wait in line or get herded like cattle?
Right.
Or you just look at it, and you say, the hell with that, I'm not doing it. So there's this...
How do you get to this? So do you get to just go? Anybody? Or do you have to make reservations?
No, anybody.
Get out of town.
It's just a smaller entrance is all it is. It's a very small entrance across this, around the corner. There's nothing secretive about it, really. Just it's delving deep. The problem with tourists, especially American tourists, we like to follow signs, right? This way to that place. But the good stuff isn't often signed for a reason.
But I wouldn't even think to myself as, I wonder where the secret entrance is. I mean, it just wouldn't dawn on me to go look for, I wonder if there's an alternate entrance.
That's why I do
But
what
I know
do.
people that do, and that's what's cool. And so
Right.
you've taken your own natural questioning curiosity about where you are, and then you've turned it into a business.
Yep.
I love it.
And then combine the sites with the cultural stuff, which, again, is something I'm really passionate about. To me, traveling is more than the seeing of sights.
Absolutely.
It's the experience of a culture. It's the understanding of a culture. I'm actually going to start my own. It probably won't be a podcast. I'll start like a Facebook Live, but it's going to be called Culture Class. And I love just educating people. Why do Italians act this way and French act this way, and how do you engage a German, and what the differences are and what makes them tick.
Right.
Because it's more than just the German eat schnitzel and the French eat baguettes. It's so much more than that.
Of course, yes.
There's ways of thinking, worldviews. Obviously religion plays a big role in it, and culture. The sort of pop culture in the country. So the guides that I provide everybody, even in the United States, there's places that are different than others. I provide a cultural guide section, and it's everything from the tipping etiquette to adapters, practical information, to what makes them tick. Like in Italy, for example, an aperitivi. What is an aperitivi? And when do they eat? Why is it that everybody's out at 11 p.m. eating dinner? Why is that?
You're right, right.
Because or why do I go to a store and everything's closed at 2 p.m.?
Yes,
right? I was just in southern Spain. I was in.
I was going to say, do they still do that in Spain?
Oh, yeah.
Closed from 2 to 5?
No, every place is different. So some do, some don't,
Okay.
and it's also different on regions. For example, the South is way slower than the North.
Okay.
The Northwest is a little bit more industrious than the South. The South is a lot of vineyards, a lot of oil, or what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know.
Olive oil.
Gotcha.
Just,
okay.
So,
I was on the oil. I didn't know we were. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So these olive oil plantation, these vineyards, and yeah, it's very low key, laid back. But that's not the whole of Spain. That's just certain parts, and certain parts are more intense than others. But yes, they definitely do that. And I've talked to Americans that are super frustrated. They read on TripAdvisor, go to this, the chateau, whatever, and it's this beautiful wine and dine experience. They get there, it's closed. So Guidester goes the extra step, and we actually say opening times. They close between these times. A lot of times they might be closed on a certain day. Museums, in particular, are bad about that.
Right.
They'll close, and they have to close at some point for cleaning, but they'll do it on random days, like a Monday or a Tuesday.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
I had a client who came to me, and he's been to the same castle 3 times. He's never been inside.
Oh.
It was closed for construction. There was an event going on. It was a wedding, and then the third one was a Monday. All of that's on the website. But again, if you're going on a 10-day trip, you're probably going to see 3, 4, 5 things a day. So you're talking, 5 times 10. You're talking anywhere from 40 to 50 sort of like websites that you have to go to, read, opening times, is there any special events, exhibits? Who has time for that?
Yeah.
So
Jack's got time for that.
Well, our production team has time for that.
Right.
Yeah, and that's so I did all the research myself. I've been in business 3 years, and now we actually have a whole team of people that produce all this content.
This is fascinating. We are going to take a quick break.
Okay.
We will be right back with Jack. That's so cool. I love it. Well, I was wondering, I lived in Spain.
Oh, cool.
And I was wondering, I was like, I wonder if they still close between 2 and 5.
The siesta, totally.
Yeah.
And it's not like a 2 to 5 exact thing. I've been to some restaurants that are closed at noon. I've been to some, and just kind of whatever they want to do, and
Right.
It really depends. Again, region is a big one. I noticed a huge difference from Madrid to Valencia to
You even got the
Oh yeah. Well,
Valencia.
Yeah. Well, you again, it goes back to that pronunciation and culture. I'm certainly no expert, but yeah, I when I first was looking at it, I'm looking at there's a city called Marbella, and you know what Marbella, and
Marbella.
So you just practice these things, and you're taken so much more seriously if you pronounce it close to the right way.
People like it too.
Yeah, Valencia. It's funny, especially it's funny hearing some of these Spaniards are just tan, built, good looking, and then they have this, when they say like this, it's really funny. It's like,
but even with the I lived in Madrid, and the D at the end has a bit of a TH to it.
Right.
So you say Madrid.
Yeah.
That's how you'd always have to get that little.
Yeah. I can't. I'm still struggling. I can't roll my R's very well.
I had to. I actually took a class.
Oh, did you? On rolling R's?
Well, because I was going to college there.
Okay.
And one of our classes was all pronunciation. We would sit there, and you had to do this whole thing for the R's, and it was like this little rhyme you had to say, and it was, oh God, I can't remember. El perro de San Roque no tiene rabo porque Ramón Ramírez se lo ha robado.
Oh, fabuloso.
We had to say that.
Yeah, I love it.
Rolling. Okay, we're ready.
All right, here we go.
And we are back with Jack Baumann from Guidester. So you are, we're friends on Facebook.
We are.
So I get to see all the things you're doing. Your nephew's way adorable, by the way. You must be a great uncle because you're always doing fun stuff with them.
I try to be.
Those kids must be like, woo, Uncle Jack's showing up
It's funny
today.
how kids, they some days so excited to see me, the other days, what are you doing here?
Why are you here?
The eldest is actually Jack, so I call him Little Jack, LJ. And they just have these strong personalities, and he's gotten to that point. Like I was giving him a little, he doesn't like to be called Little Jack because he's 10 now or 9. So,
wow.
so
Right.
he's MJ, he's Medium Jack.
Medium Jack.
He's Medium Jack.
Oh, I love it.
And I'm BB J, I'm Big Baby Jack.
I love it.
So he's got this, so that's what I told him. I go, I was giving him a little bit of trouble. We were watching A Christmas Carol, and Tiny Tim, I was like, hey, Little Jack and Tiny Tim, you guys would be best of friends. And he gave me this look. He was not happy.
Yeah.
He goes, Jack, why do you tease me? And sometimes they'll say, I wish, because they have 2 uncles. I have a brother. Nathan's the best uncle. I'm like, yeah. When you actually add up all the things, I'm over here taking you to these things. Come on. So it's funny how kids, their memory is like small. They're
right.
so happy to see you this day, and then the next day they're distracted. They don't care at all.
I'm playing games.
I'm playing games. Or the littlest one, his thing is dinosaurs. So if he's into dino mode, don't even try.
Well, when Jurassic Park actually opens, you can take them because you're all
Right.
about to travel.
Yeah.
You'll know the secret entrance door.
Right. I'll know how to actually talk to the velociraptors and the T-Rex.
Yeah, there you go, because you will have
Andromedas.
studied and researched.
Right.
I love it. And you were doing some other interesting things. So tell me about Churchill
Lives.
Lives.
Right.
Churchill Lives.
Churchill
Let's hear
Lives. So we are putting together a special tour called Churchill Lives, which is an exclusive high-end tour of Southern England with Winston Churchill's great-grandson leading the tour along with me and one of the world's foremost impersonators of Churchill. And we're going to visit the highlights of his life, starting in London, going to Parliament, the war rooms, and seeing the things that he actually interacted with, along with some of the other major sites, obviously. Going to Cambridge, where he went to school, Blenheim Palace, where he was born, the largest palace in England, Arundel Castle, one of the largest castles in England, where the Duke of Norfolk gave his funeral, Windsor Castle, which played a vital role in the Battle of Britain, and the Siege of Dunkirk. There was a movie, Dunkirk, that just came out, and so we're going to be going, and this impersonator is going to be giving these famous speeches in these locations.
Oh my gosh. So if you're a history buff, this is so awesome,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Are you a history buff as well?
I have a master's in archaeology, so I like it a little bit.
Just slightly. So that plays into everything you're doing as well.
Right.
Because you can share
Yeah.
that kind of information with people. That is so cool.
Right. And
when is this? How is this? Is this like a group tour kind of thing, or?
It is. So it's an exclusive tour limited to only 16 people. So 8 couples, and it doesn't have to be married couples. It can be father and son or whatever. But 16 people is the max.
Okay.
And it is going to be running September 2018. So we're launching it officially this week. And you can actually go to the website now, churchilllives.com. It'll tell you when it's launching. And we've got a video that explains the whole thing and then an itinerary. But yeah, it's very exclusive, high-end. Everything's included. Airfare, hotel, and these entrances and everything. But we've even taken it a step further. We were fortunate enough to make a connection at the Houses of Parliament. So we have an exclusive private dinner at the Houses of Parliament with a member of Parliament, with Winston Churchill and Jonathan Sands,
Oh
the
my gosh,
great-grandson.
how cool!
So we'll be in the palace. So it's called Westminster Palace. It's Parliament. If you hear Westminster Palace, you're talking about Parliament, and it's you've obviously got the chambers, the House of Lords, the House of Commons, and then it's just this giant complex. And American citizens actually can't tour it. You have to be a UK resident to tour certain parts of the Parliament. So we're going to get to do that. That alone is a cool thing because we get to see things that American citizens can't. And then we're going to have that private dinner. So palace, giant, everybody on the tour, plus our talent, plus a member of Parliament. And I don't know from what area of England yet he'll be, but he'll be an actual, house, like an actual congressman.
That's so cool. And
Yeah.
so, are you gonna video it? You should.
Oh yeah, there'll be a whole.
You have to do a documentary.
EG Media is our partner, and they're the ones.
Don't we love EG? Hello, Scott and Ted.
So they're coming with us, and they're going to be filming the whole thing, and then each participant is going to get their own DVD, their own video of the experience, highlighting them. So technically, there'll be 16 videos for for each person.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
wow, really?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
That's a big project.
We've been working on it for about a year now, so it's definitely been a lot of work, a lot of great people involved, a lot of talent, and I'm excited. If it goes well, we could.
This could be a thing.
It could be a thing. We run these a couple times a year, but then I could do Roman history tours. I could do, Southern French historical tours, Napoleon tours.
Right.
I love to mix history and culture, and fun all in it. Go to a place to see some sights is great, but you got to have something else. There's something else that makes these things special.
Well, yeah, and it's like so memorable. I mean, vacations are memorable.
Right.
I mean, they are because they're vacations, but this takes it up to the super memorable level.
Right.
And, and that you get to say, I got to do this, I got to do that. I mean, things that people don't normally get to do.
Yeah. You got to be in Dover Castle watching Winston Churchill give his famous speech, "Fight on the land, we fight on the beaches, we will never surrender."
Oh,
Yeah.
You could be the impersonator as well.
I do not have a good accent. I'm trying. Like I said, I don't have the voice for it, but I need to take an accent class or a pronunciation
there you
class.
go. You just take the class. Yeah, I don't know if they have those over there. I'm sure they do. I mean, it was also that it was funny because and we talked about this on break about how I had taken a class while I lived in Spain to learn how to sound like a Spaniard.
Right.
And what ended up happening is every time I would get into a taxi cab, the driver would always say, "I can't place your accent. What part of Spain are you from?"
Oh,
so
well,
the
that's,
thought that
that's a
they
good...
even thought I was from Spain was kind of
wow.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm not. I'm from the middle of the United States,
Yeah,
in this
the
place called
Midwest.
St. Louis, which nobody ever knew. They never knew. It's like everybody knew Chicago, New
Right.
York, and San Francisco,
And Miami,
and then and where
Yeah.
Disney World is.
Right.
That was about it. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's like we know those places, and we don't know anything else. Like
Yeah. Right.
But how that's really cool. Okay, so yes, you have now taken Guidester, and you've got it to this whole other level. And
Yeah.
are you going to do a book for everybody going on the Churchill
Oh yeah,
Lives?
they'll have. So this will be a fairly structured tour. So the guides that I do are mostly for self-guided travelers, which is how most people travel. You book your trip to Italy, and you might do a tour or two in some of the major cities, but then you're left on your own.
Right.
This will actually be a fully structured tour, where we'll have a local tour guide, a chauffeur, the whole 9 yards. But there will be downtime, and so part of the memoir is I will do a book for everybody. But this is an instance where they won't get as much out of it because everything's already done.
Right.
In London, we'll have a little bit of downtime, but once we leave London, it's fairly structured on what we're seeing and doing, and again, these are some of these things the public can't do. Blenheim Palace. We're going to get a private tour of Blenheim Palace. We're going to see not only the staterooms. Actually, so I've been to Blenheim twice. I was just there in June, and it's amazing. It's a beautiful palace, but you just don't get to see much as like sort of a layman, as a tourist. So I'm really passionate about seeing as much as you can and sort of delving into it. I'll give you an example. I had a client who went to a palace, and he said, this is really neat, but this is a lot of house for one person. And they just couldn't wrap their head around it. But this is, again, why I love getting a backdrop and historical context, because you have to understand, these estates, they weren't built just for the Duke of Norfolk.
No.
They were built to house a community. And that community contributed to the greatness of, at that time, in the 17, 18, 1900s, the greatness of the English Empire. So, they produced textiles and wools and farming, and then everybody that worked the ground all had jobs, and then they contributed to the economy. So it wasn't one guy like today.
With his 18,000 rooms to go
like
check out.
Like a guy like Bill Gates.
Right.
He's got some servants and stuff, but mostly it's a house for Bill Gates and his wife and maybe his family. Back then, they were really the caretakers, really the paterfamilias of the entire community. So it was a different way of life and a different social structure than we have today.
Well, we're going to take another break, but I just wanted to offer that if you need Sam and I to go as the podcast team, we're happy to raise our hands. We'll be right back with Jack Baumann.
I'll keep that in mind. Yeah. Well,
oh my gosh, that's so fun.
We actually have I think there's 8 of us. So we have 16 people, but then, we have myself
crew.
running, 8 crew.
So it's Scott and Ted and
And then,
but Ted's going to need a lot of video people because.
Well, I think just one other. I think Shu.
Oh, Shu's going to go.
I
okay,
think
cool.
so. I'm not
All
sure,
right.
but yeah, he'll have a couple. Then Scott, then myself, but then Randy, and then the impersonator. I'm sorry, you don't know who Randy is.
I don't know who Randy is, but I was shaking my head like
Yeah.
I did. I'm thinking, Randy, who's Randy?
Randy is the impersonator Randy Otto. So here's something.
Is he from here?
He's American, yeah. I actually think he lives in Texas.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Actually, I'll pull up a photo. You'll love it. So
How fun!
he just met Gary Oldman over the weekend, last Friday.
Really?
They just came out with the new Churchill movie, Darkest Hour,
That's right.
and Gary Oldman
Now,
plays
you know what
Churchill.
I think of when I see Gary Oldman? I still see him as Sid Vicious. Because
Really?
he played in Sid and Nancy. He was Sid Vicious.
So so it'll show my age. I think of Gordon Brown. He's the detective in Batman. The chief.
And what Batman?
The newest ones. Well,
Oh.
actually, all the Batmans. Gordon Brown.
Was he in the Batman movies?
Yes.
Oh, see, I'm terrible at paying attention
But
to
the
those
name,
movies.
Gordon Brown was the chief of police for,
Well,
Gotham.
you're a lot younger than me. I'm showing my age. I was like, woo, Sid and Nancy movie.
Yeah.
But I think that's the first time I ever saw him.
Oh, okay. And the first movies that I watched consistently was,
Well, I think that
Batman.
Gary should go on the trip with you guys.
well, that's
I think he would lend a lot
that's-
to it. You really should talk to him.
I'm gonna try. I'll pick up the phone and give him a
Just
call.
give him a call and say,
Yeah.
look, dude, I mean,
Come on, Gary.
you should take some time off from movie making.
Right. You don't need to make a couple million all the time.
I mean, come on.
Share
this
the
would
wealth.
be fun for you. You know, it's good to find out if he plays golf. He could play golf with everybody. And...
Yeah. Well, and I was going to show you that photo. What we're trying to do is get like a plug from him because this guy, Randy Otto, the impersonator, is unbelievably good. I mean,
How did you find out about him? Did you go Google?
No, Ted or Scott.
Scott. Yeah.
There's another guy in this whole mix-up called George. And George, he kind of manages talents, if you will, because these
Okay.
guys do speaking engagements, they do tours, that kind of stuff. So he manages them. Scott knew George.
Ah.
And then I did a trip for Scott to England and Ireland, and I did the guide, and Scott was like, Jack, I'm blown away by the detail. I mean, again, I'm passionate about giving you the experience you want. Everyone's
Right.
experience is different. For Scott, he wanted the small towns, the off the beaten path. He and his wife wanted the cute little villages.
Right.
And, Southern England is full of these places.
Right.
And he just couldn't believe it. I mean, some of these towns are, you go to like Tintagel Castle, which is where King Arthur was actually supposedly born. His father, King Uther Pendragon. And then it's a town, and then right around there's these little port cities, these villages, and you would never know they're there. TripAdvisor isn't going to say, hey,
No.
they're a neat town right
I
down
love
the
what
road.
you're doing because it's so true. I mean, I always feel like I wish somebody would tell me the cool stuff to do.
That Mich
while I'm
wants to
here.
do.
Yeah.
I
That
know-
is like exactly.
I know
right,
people
'cause
that would look
many
at these.
people would be like, oh, I don't want to hang out with her. She wants to do weird stuff.
Well, no. Or I'm the same way. I'm a kind of weird mix. I love to do the quiet, small, like John Wayne type of
Right.
quiet man villages and stuff. But I also love. I could go to in Spain, in Madrid. It's a 7-story club, Capital, one of the biggest clubs in Madrid.
Oh, is that what it's called? It used to be the Titanic.
Oh, so
Used
it's
to be yeah, that's what it used to
7-story,
be.
yeah.
And we used to go up to the very top of it and watch all the Mad Max movies.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, they have that big screen. You're right. They have that open air patio, and they had a giant screen up there.
Right.
So I was just there in June, and yeah, 7-story club is amazing, but that's not everybody's cup of tea.
Right.
But then the next day, I got up at 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and I'm doing these museums. So I like a mix, a balance.
Right.
Some people, I was with my younger brother. He's just turned 20. 5 minutes at the museum, he's done. Right.
Yeah.
Now he did like the Prado, but he's not a museum guy. And
Right.
that's his youth. When you're younger.
Got ya.
So yeah, are we?
We should probably. Well, so did you have your picture? I
Oh
want to
yeah,
see this guy.
yeah. We keep getting distracted.
Well, we have so much to talk about.
Okay,
that's
so-
why you're here. You're interesting.
Okay, so here is him and some. So here is him and Gary Oldman.
Oh, cool.
And there's a bunch of other photos. I think they got on pretty well because they were like chatting for a little while.
Right. Well, you just finished filming that.
I know, right?
Right.
Could not,
How perfect.
Could not be better timing. But here's what he looks like in his. I mean, he looks a lot like Churchill.
Oh my gosh.
With the cigars, and he can impromptu these speeches. So it's not like he's got. I mean, he can literally. He'll be sitting there and he'll just.
He knows it.
He'll just go into character, into speech.
Oh,
I mean,
how
it's just,
cool is that?
Yeah, it is.
Wouldn't
really
that be
neat.
fun?
Yeah.
Let's start our. Let's go tour. We could go tour recording studios.
I'm so in.
Who did that? Dave Grohl did that. Did you see the HBO special where they did that?
I'm a terrible audio guy. I haven't seen it yet. I deserve an admonishment.
Fine. Sam,
Oh, I bet radio's huge in Britain.
Yeah.
You
BBC
could
One.
do
I
that.
have been to the BBC.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And I did walk across Abbey Road.
Oh, cool.
Get that done.
Did you do the
Yeah.
picture?
Yeah, there's like a, I'm sure you know this, there's like a camera all the time, like a traffic camera that points at it, so that like you can go, if you know exactly what time you were there, you can go back on their website. And
Really?
be like, at
Yeah.
1:05
That's
p.m.
so
and 30
cool.
seconds. There is me.
In Liverpool.
See, so I
Yeah.
have not been to London, but now I have friends over in London. It's from my TED Fest. We were going to TED Fest last
Right.
year, and we stayed in an Airbnb with 8 other people. 3 of them were from London, and now I'm like, I want to come to London and see you. And
That'd
the
be
island of Cyprus. My friend Paul lives there, and I want to go there. I haven't been there yet.
One thing you learn about traveling is the more you travel, the more there is to see.
Oh yeah.
I've been to 40 countries, and some people are like, "Whoa, Jack, that's a lot." In my mind, I've scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much.
Like I have a map, and I'm starting to like pin where I've been.
Oh
and
my god, how fun!
Even within countries, it's like
That's so fun.
I've been to every corner of Britain, England, Scotland, Wales, every single corner, and I've been there. I lived there for 2 years. I've been everywhere from top to bottom, Highlands down to the Lowlands, and there's still. Jack, have you heard of this place in Scotland? Haven't even heard. I mean,
yeah,
it's just
unending.
It is unending.
It is oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
So we have, there's Timothy. Come in, Timothy. Hang out. Have a seat. We're just finishing up.
Okay.
He's on after you.
Oh, okay.
How are you? Thanks for being here.
No problem. Awesome.
What time is it?
It is.
Are we running over?
We're good. No, I'm
Oh,
It's
good.
10 till,
Good, good,
12
good.
till,
You're
yeah.
here. Come in. Have a seat.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy you're here. I'm excited. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Oh, good to see you. I love. Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk. This is Jack. Well,
Hey,
you
how you
guys.
doing?
So you're both Medici people.
Good to meet you.
Oh, sweet.
Do you know that?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know
What's
you
your
were.
name?
Timothy.
Oh, cool, man.
Timothy is like over doing awesome music
go.
recording and what
Oh,
have you.
thanks. Good deal.
I know,
I'm gonna use the
Medici.
restroom and I'll be
All
back.
right, sir. All right, I'm ready when you are. So you got it. Hi, and we are back with Jack Baumann. Okay, it's question time.
Okay.
This was hard. I mean, you would think that I would like come up with these so easy, but here were the things I really wanted to ask you. So first, you love culture, and I love that part. So what is the most astonishing or amazing tradition you experienced or saw in any of your travels?
Tough one. First thing that comes to mind is New Year's Eve in Scotland, in the Highlands of Scotland. Full-on kilt, 3-piece suit, in a small town called Stonehaven, and they have, so in Scotland it's called Hogmanay is what
Okay.
they call New Year's, and they have this tradition. Hogmanay, actually, this tradition started in this town. It's kind of the Highlands, at the threshold of the Highlands, near Aberdeen, and there's this small town, like I said, called Stonehaven, and every year, every Hogmanay, they get these locals, and they, obviously everybody's in kilts, and they pitch black through the village, and they wave these giant fireballs. And these fireballs, these are big men. I could not even wield one of these fireballs. Big men, big Scottish men, and they're coming through the town. Everybody, kind of like a parade,
Right?
pitch black. I mean, really not a whole lot of lanterns or anything, just dark. And everybody's on either side of the street, and they just come down the street in their kilts, waving these giant fireballs.
What is it made out of? What?
Oh, like it's like a torch, like Indiana Jones. So there's some wood, some oil. I don't know.
And
I
they're
didn't touch it.
Whooping these things.
No, it's
around?
connected to a chain,
Oh, okay.
and they're like, so if they stop, it'll fall. So they have to keep the momentum going, and then they wave it around their heads. You've seen like these fire people, like people that mess
Yeah,
with fire,
right, yeah.
like on the street.
Right.
It's that, but with a giant fireball.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Just really for that extra challenge on New Year's.
It's been going on for centuries. For
Do you know where it
centuries.
started?
Not a clue. I mean, not off the top of my
Were they
head.
really drunk? Well, I got a good idea.
It's just.
You wonder how some of this stuff gets started. Like, let's make great big fireballs and have a parade. And don't you wonder?
Well, yeah, and a lot of these traditions start by happenstance. but they also start by necessity. So the fire, obviously, they didn't have electricity. So,
Right.
potentially it's hey, we want to celebrate New Year's and it's pitch black because this is a small village. It was even smaller 500 years ago.
So they don't lay street lights hanging out.
Yeah, they're
right?
like, let's make a big fire pit or something, and then people are like, well, I want to dance and move, so maybe we'll take that on the road and this will light our way, and we're drinking some whiskey and some scotch, and
which is a great combination with fire.
Oh yeah, they can. No, the Scots have no fear. They just don't.
Obviously not.
No.
Oh my gosh, how can you imagine doing that in the United States? Like, you'd have to sign a whole bunch of papers or get
I actually have.
things.
We should do a whole podcast because that's one of the biggest differences. One of the biggest ironies of America is we are the quote unquote freest country in the world, but when it comes to public displays of individuality, very restrictive.
Right, yes,
Yeah.
very well. I mean, I've been in Mexico when they do fireworks, and
Right.
they're just like, woo, let's
they
just
don't care.
shoot them wherever.
Anywhere, right.
It's like, wow, you couldn't do that in the States,
No.
which I'm kind of thankful that we don't do
Right,
it that
there's
way.
a threshold. I think
yeah.
we take it too far, though.
Yeah, right.
It's like
No,
the whole
I
nation
agree.
is for little kids.
I agree.
And it's like,
Yeah,
don't touch
yeah.
this, don't look at that.
Here's sign these papers so you know
Sign
not
these
to do it.
papers,
Yeah,
right.
I'm with you on that.
Give me a break, yeah.
Okay, gosh, what do I want to ask next? Okay, so is there anything that you own that goes on every trip with you? Is there something that's like always with you?
Yeah, my journal, my travel journal. It's funny you bring that up. I'm conflicted because I can type crazy fast, like 120, 30 words a minute.
Right.
That's just evolved over time. I've needed to do that, and I'm a really good typer, and I prefer typing. I have horrible handwriting. So I'm like, okay, I write in my travel journal because it's tradition going back years and years, but it's very inefficient. So I'm conflicted. I have to keep it going.
But there's a thing about writing as opposed to typing. I mean,
Right.
there's a thing that,
Sure.
especially if you want to, like, I still have to write out my to-do list
Sure.
with my hand, right,
Yeah.
and a pen, write it
It's
all
psychological.
out. Because then that's how I remember it. And there's a
Right.
whole thing about that.
There is, but when you're going from town to town to place to place to place, and you need quick notes, it takes a long time.
I got you.
So, and then it gets to the point where I've taken a bunch of notes in my phone and a bunch of notes in the thing, and I need to store them all in one place. So am I storing everything on the cloud? Am I storing everything on my journal and then putting it to the cloud? Because then I write it, but then,
Right.
then I need to convert it.
I like it, though. It's like kind of romantic.
Well, and the
journal
front's
thing.
to Trevi Fountain. So it's a suede, it's like a neat, it's not just a journal. It's actually,
Right.
it has...
It's not just some notebook that
No,
you picked up
I
at
got it for
Walmart.
my mom got it for me for a present years ago, and
Aw.
I've used it ever since, yeah.
Oh, cool. See? There's a whole thing around it. All right, so right now, at this very, very moment,
Mm-hmm.
what place do you think people do not know about that they should totally go travel to? I mean, we all know, like, there's places everybody knows about,
Never
right?
heard of, or
Maybe
don't
that just-
travel very much.
Maybe that just isn't well known to us. Of the people in your circle, like you say, have you ever been to? And they're like, I never even thought of going there.
Wales.
Really?
People have heard of it, and people. I actually have met people that are like, where is Wales? But most people at least know it's somewhere in Britain.
Right.
Everybody goes to England. Everybody goes to Scotland.
But
Wales.
they don't
is
go to Wales.
Very few.
Yeah.
Very few. If
I
you
can see
if
that.
you went to Wales, most people that go to Wales, I haven't talked to anybody that's been to Wales that didn't have a reason. They have families from there. There was something specific they wanted to see in Wales.
Right.
The Led Zeppelin song "Stairway to Heaven" was written in Wales.
Really?
About Mount Snowdonia. They were in their little cabin. Obviously, they were on a few substances, and they were.
And instead of fireballs, they went for a song.
they went, yeah. No, they're literally, and you can go to the cabin where they wrote it because they were British, and then two of them were actually Welsh, and so they knew of this beautiful place in Mount Snowdonia, which is the national park in northern Wales, and most castles of any country in the world, Wales. Some of the most spectacular scenery you'll ever see in the world, Wales.
Really?
More sheep than people, and so you see this gorgeous, lush green countryside dotted with white. You see that in Scotland and England to an extent, but nothing like Wales. And then it's not touristy. I mean, you go to Cardiff, which is the capital of Wales. That's where I got my master's. You'll see some tourists. But I lived there for almost 2 years, and I mean, I could count on one hand how many Americans actually came there.
Right.
It's other Europeans and other British, but very few Americans go to Wales.
Interesting.
I don't know why.
And what brought you? I mean, what brought you there? What happened that you said, I am going to go to school over there?
The program. So I graduated Mizzou in 2010, and I said, what do I want to do with my life? I love history and travel. Okay, so Indiana Jones. That's what I want to be. I had the leather coat. I got the fedora.
You got the jacket right now?
No. This
is kind of Indiana Jones.
I've got one that's even more so. That's like a full, because he actually wears a bomber jacket. That's what he wears. And so I've got the bomber jacket, the fedora, and the whip and all that good stuff. And okay, so now I need the degree. I mean, that's the easy part, right? No, so I just started looking around. I knew I wanted to live in Europe, and this was one of the top programs for archaeology. It was right near a Roman legionary camp, so a lot of history and archaeology there. 3 hours from London, so London you can get anywhere in the world, so I'm very accessible. I didn't want to live in London because nobody cares about Americans in London. They see Americans every single day, 100 times a day. I love being in a place where I'm the oddball. I love it. I thrive in these situations where I'm the only one. I'd go to these parties and I'd be the only American there. I mean, I actually threw some parties and I had a map on my wall and I had people pin where they're from. There was like 30 plus countries and there was like one other in America. It's like Europe, Egypt, South America, Asia, and then, there's like one from Chicago and maybe one from New York, and that's it. So,
but I like that too. Like, I mean, I've been places where I'm so off the beaten path, and people are wondering what I'm doing there. I mean, I've literally had people say, "Do you know where you are?" Like, well, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I just don't want to always be at the touristy things. I want to go check out, like, what is it like to really live here?
And you can get away with a lot. Like,
well,
so
what have you gotten away with?
Well, I met Prince Charles.
What?
Oh, yeah, I met Prince Charles. I have a picture. I mean, I'm 10 feet from him. I was at a church service with him. It was private. It wasn't a public event. I totally bluffed my way into that. And it was because if I were a British, they would have said, whatever. But long story short, I befriended the priest that was there, and I saw these police. I knew something was going on, and I talked to him, and I knew what made English, the British in general, tick. They're very indirect, a little more passive than Americans, so you can't just say, I want to do.
Right.
You got to say, I'd love to do something like this, and let them make the offer. So anyway, I just knew kind of how to talk to this guy, and we made friends, and then he goes, come back tomorrow at 9. Because he told me that Prince Charles was coming, came back, and I got to sit 5 rows behind Prince Charles and Camilla, and then after the service, he got around and, to shaking hands and talking to people.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
But again, it goes back to that culture. I never would have gotten that if I didn't have that a little bit of insight into how to talk to this guy was actually English, but British in general have, a different way of talking to, just a different way of thinking than Americans do. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang out with Jack. Like Jack and I got to start hanging out more. That's
really
really
traveling,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, you would be the perfect person to travel with because you would get everybody into really cool things.
Yeah. We'll have to have another podcast. I've been in some, not shady situations, but like, where am I? I'm probably not going to get out of here.
Maybe I shouldn't have turned down that street.
Or maybe I shouldn't have climbed. I once climbed into a castle in Scotland. I scaled the walls, and I mean, you're talking 100-foot drop to your death, 200 feet drop to your death. It was closed. I traveled all this way to this castle, and it's closed. I wouldn't take no for an answer.
There are no barriers for you.
No, there's none.
I love it. Well, Jack, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank
you so much for sharing
Thanks
this
for having
information.
me.
Yeah, high five on that. And if you go to guidester.com, that's where you'll find information. And then there's also a site for the Churchill Lives.
ChurchillLives.com.
Yep. Well, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mich.
I totally appreciate it.
I had fun. Thanks for having me on.
Awesomeness. And for all of you out there, you have been listening to Mishmash Podcast. Find us on iTunes. Subscribe. Thank you. Have wonderful days.
Ciao.
Yay!
Cool.
That's so.
My brother wanted to be Indiana Jones when he was like
really
16.
Really? So I dressed up for Indiana Jones this Halloween, and I actually had a buddy from France come with me. He's living in Michigan, so I said, "You got to experience Halloween in America, and I'll show you around." And we went to Central West End. I was dressed as Indiana Jones. This is like a timeless thing. I mean, I would walk down the street, Indy.
Yeah.
Indy.
Everybody knows Indy.
Not only everybody knows him, everybody loves him. Who doesn't love Indiana Jones?
Well, yeah, you want to. Yeah.
Men want to be
coolest.
him. Women want to be with him.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's amazing. No, it was funny. Even after all this time, you dress up as Indiana Jones and you get people yelling at you down the street.
How fun.
So that was fun.
But that's so cool that you're like, I want to be Indiana Jones, and that you chose to do it this way, and then
and then I segued into travel. I figured out that Indiana Jones didn't make much money.
And still have 2 minutes. I'm gonna go around the car.
Oh yeah, no, go right ahead. Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so I finished my master's and I realized they make no money.
I know.
It's not all about money, but if you're going to travel in life, you have to have money.
You need to have money to travel.
And literally, to be a professor wealthy enough to to travel the world. I mean,
Right.
you're talking 20 years, and then you maybe become tenure, and then you can have some money to travel. But I wasn't willing to wait that long, so I figured,
Like, I'm doing this now.
I'm doing
I
this
love
now.
it.
Started my own travel business.
And that
and-
is just fascinating. I mean, it's so much more fascinating than I knew when I first met you. I don't think I really got everything that Guidester was.
That's part of the thing that we struggle with is what is Guidester? We either get equated to a travel agent or like an app. We're not either, but we are both.
Right.
I can book and I can do everything a travel agent can.
It's really hard when your first step in marketing anything is education.
Right.
It really is. It makes the journey to adoption of
Yeah.
what you're doing so much longer because
Right.
you're at that place of people don't know what this is,
Right.
and it's perspective changing. So how do I take this and get it to where people
Right.
know, oh, that's what it is.
Right, it clicks.
You know,
Yeah. So we've actually just engaged a digital
And you'll
marketer.
get there.
And well, on our own, maybe not. And that's what we've kind of come to this realization because we've changed our copyright and Guidester is XYZ so many times, and it comes down to analogies and metaphors. So much of marketing is metaphors
Can you tell the story? Can you compare it to?
to what people already know.
Right.
So you could say something like the Rick Steves of digital travel. Like that's not what we would be.
Right,
but-
right.
So people know what Rick Steves is, and then they know what digital. So that's where we struggle. Is we need the verbiage that you can't just say custom travel guide.
Right.
Because people automatically think a guidebook, and a guidebook's $30, $40
Right.
bucks. Why would I spend more than that?
Exactly.
Because you get all this extra and the convenience and then the customization and the maps and the digital and all these other things that you get. So really what we've discovered that we've done is we've not only created a new business, we're creating a new industry.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I really believe in the next few years this is the way travel companies will go.
I think so too because people like stuff. They like things personalized to them now. Like it's all about personalization.
Right. It's also all about sifting through the overwhelming amount of noise that's on the internet.
Yeah, and then there's that.
How do you
Yeah.
do that?
Well, you keep doing what you're doing. You have to just keep doing it. I mean, that's the thing. So when I talk about doing anything on social media, my big thing is it is not an event. It is a journey.
Right.
So, because I get these people that are like, oh, I'm going to hire you, and in 3 months, bam, I'm out there. I'm like, not really.
Yeah. You got to tell a story, yeah.
There's a lot to do.
I know.
There's no bam.
Right.
Not unless the bam comes with millions of dollars.
Yeah. And no startup has that.
Yeah, right. And so it's but it's going to happen because you're doing all the right things and you're saying yes.
Yeah, a little
You're
bit.
saying yes to the
I'm
right
trying.
things. So
I'm trying.
I love it.
You want this chair? Here, do
Yes.
we?
I don't,
No,
I
it's-
don't know how it works.
Is it
so-
still going? Do you want me
Yeah.
to turn that off?
Oh yeah, I'll turn it off. But say just hit the finish. Bye everybody.